Long before the world was divided by borders, and long before stories were captured on screens, there was a time when tales danced in the wind. Passed from mouth to ear, from firelight to starlight. In the heart of Africa, where drums speak, and the earth listens, tales were not just told, they were lived. This is one such tale. A story so ancient, only the wind remembers its true ending. But I am a Griot, a keeper of the old voices, and I shall tell it as it was told to me, and as I now tell you. Have you ever seen a basket fly? Not tossed by wind or carried by hands, but soaring through the sky with a mind of its own. Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the clouds? Not in the stars, but in forgotten dreams? Then gather close, for this is the tale of Tunde, the boy who flew in a basket woven by magic and tested by fate. There once was a village nestled in the cradle of rolling hills, where the trees wore crowns of green and the rivers hummed lullabies to the moon. This village, whose name has been forgotten by time, lived not by wealth or warriors, but by story and spirit. Every house was made of earth and straw, yet stood prouder than stone castles, because within them lived hearts that beat with rhythm, laughter, and dreams. In this village lived a boy named Tunde. He was not the strongest, nor the tallest, nor the bravest. But he had eyes like deep pools of water, always searching, always reflecting, while others played in the fields or learned the old songs from their fathers. Tunde watched the sky every morning as the village came alive with mothers pounding yam, fathers returning from early hunting, and children fetching water. Tunde would climb the hill behind his hut and sit alone. From there, he could see everything: the rising sun painting the horizon in fire and gold, birds slicing through the morning mist, clouds drifting like great ships in a silent sea. He would whisper to the sky, asking questions only the wind could. Here, where do the clouds sleep? Do birds tell stories to the stars? What if I could fly? Would I ever come back down? His parents, kind but worried, often called him the boy with his head in the clouds. His father, a skilled weaver, tried to teach him to braid ropes and baskets. But Tunde's fingers often wandered, shaping birds and spirals into the patterns. His mother, a trader of herbs and spices, gently nudged him to learn numbers and measures. But he would use the seeds to create maps of imagined worlds. Other children laughed at him. Some called him lazy. Others just didn't understand. But Tunde never answered them, not out of pride, but because his mind was always flying far away. One evening, while the villagers gathered under the baobab tree for stories, the elder griot, Baba Olamide, began to tell an old tale of a man who walked into the sky. Everyone gasped and laughed, thinking it just a tale, all except Tunde, whose eyes shimmered like the stars. He believed the next morning, Tunde found a feather, long black with a shimmer of green. A feather from a bird he had never seen. Before, he held it up to the light and whispered, "I will fly one day." He kept it hidden beneath his sleeping mat, a secret reminder that dreams weren't foolish, just waiting. Days turned to weeks, and the dry season arrived. The ground cracked beneath bare feet. The sun scorched every leaf and brow, and the drums of the village grew slower, heavier, as if the land itself were tired. In the market square, people sold less and bartered more. Water was fetched from deeper wells. But even in this heat, Tunde still climbed the hill each day. He watched hawks circle the skies, wondering how they stayed up so long without falling. He studied how leaves spiraled down from trees, and once he tied a cloth to a broomstick and ran downhill, arms stretched wide like wings. He fell a lot, but every fall made him smile because he was learning. One afternoon, something changed. A cool breeze swept through the market, not hot like the desert wind, but cool like river mist. Then came the scent, not of dust or sweat, but of lavender, cinnamon, and something older. The villagers looked up. A figure was walking into the market, slow, graceful. She was old, older than anyone Tunde had ever seen. Her skin was like dark leather parchment, cracked but beautiful. Her eyes were deep and knowing. She wore layers of fabrics with patterns Tunde didn't recognize, and around her neck hung small charms made of bone, stone, and glass. She carried no goods. She called no names. She simply stood in the center of the square. People stared, whispered. Then, as if carried by instinct, they slowly returned to their business. But Tunde watched. The old woman sat down near a collapsed basket stall. She looked tired. No one offered help. Some feared her. Others ignored her. Tunde stepped forward. He brought her water in a calabash. She drank slowly, then looked at him. Her eyes, they weren't old. They were ageless. "What is your name, boy?" she asked. "Tunde," he replied. "It means returns." "And what do you seek, Tunde?" He hesitated. Most people would say goats, or rain, or peace. But he spoke his truth. "I want to fly." The old woman smiled. Not a mocking smile, but one of quiet recognition. She reached behind her and pulled out a strange basket. It was woven with fibers Tunde had never seen: red, gold, black, and silver, and it shimmered faintly in the sun. "This basket," she whispered, "was not made by hands. It was made by hope." "Does it fly?" Tunde whispered, voice trembling. "Only for those with light hearts and heavy purpose. Can I try?" "You may keep it. But no. This child, it will take you where your heart already is." He blinked, confused, but before he could ask, she was gone. No one saw her leave. One moment she was sitting, the next, empty space remained. Tunde took the basket home, hid it behind his father's shed. That night, beneath the full moon, he climbed the hill with the feather tucked behind his ear and the basket in his arms. The wind was still. The world was asleep. He stepped into the basket. Nothing happened. He closed his eyes and spoke from his heart. "I don't want to be special. I just want to see what the sky sees." And then it lifted. Not quickly, not like a bird, but gently, like a leaf rising with the wind. Tunde gasped as the village shrank beneath him. His breath caught as stars greeted him face to face. The air smelled of dreams and forgotten songs. He was flying. Tunde soared above the clouds, above the trees, above the chatter of the market and the snoring of goats. He drifted silently in the sky. The basket, woven of colors that shifted with the stars, made no sound as it floated. It didn't wobble. It didn't creak. It simply flew. He looked down and saw his village asleep. Roofs like shells in the moonlight. Trails of smoke fading into silver mist. He saw the hills beyond, the great baobab trees standing guard, the winding river like a snake curling through the valley. It was more beautiful than he had imagined. He looked up and even the stars looked back at him. He laughed. And the basket echoed his joy, twirling once in the air like a bird showing off to the sky. "I'm flying," he shouted. "I'm really flying." For a while, he said nothing. He just watched the world below and the heavens above. He saw things others never noticed, the way owls cut the air, the slow blink of the moon, the dance of insects between trees even at night. But eventually, the basket grew tired. Or perhaps it simply knew enough, for one night, it drifted downward, slow and soft, like a feather returning home. Tunde landed on the hill behind his hut, the same hill where his dreams had once reached up like vines to the sky. He stepped out, legs shaking, heart pounding. He looked at the basket. "Thank you," he whispered. It shimmered once, as if nodding, and rested quietly. He hid it beneath a thick cloth in the shed. No one must know. Not yet. The next morning, everything felt different. The same village, the same chores, the same noises. But now Tunde walked with a secret. A sky secret. a truth that sparkled behind his eyes like sunlight on water. His mother noticed first. "Tunde, what's changed?" she asked as he helped her sort herbs. "Nothing," he smiled. "Just, everything looks new today." He did. His chores faster. He listened more closely. He even helped a younger boy tie his broken sandals with a strip of vine. Not because he had to, but because he felt lighter inside. That night, he returned to the hill. The basket waited. This time, he flew higher. He saw nearby villages. He saw a lion stalking prey in the savannah. He saw hyenas laughing under the stars. He saw a group of women walking back from the river, singing, and their voices wove through the air like threads of gold. Tunde flew every night for 7 days. Each journey showed him something new. Each landing brought him back wiser. He began to understand the balance of things. The sky and earth, pride and humility, joy and stillness. But secrets are heavy things. And even the purest heart can grow curious about what lies beyond the next flight. On the 8th night, Tunde flew farther than ever before. He followed a line of glowing fireflies into the mountains. He saw waterfalls like liquid stars. He watched a comet streak across the sky like the finger of a god. But this time, as he flew, he heard something. Voices. Not in his ears, but in his chest. The basket was whispering, "Not all flights are for freedom. Some are for learning, some for testing." Tunde sat straighter. "Testing what?" he asked. No answer came, but a strange energy filled the air. The basket dipped suddenly, not in danger, but with intention below. A clearing opened. A village, not one he recognized, stood in a crescent shape around a dying fire. There was shouting, anger. He landed quietly in a thicket, hidden by tall grasses. He crept closer. A family was crying. Their son had been taken by bandits. The village was arguing about whether to pursue or hide. Tunde's chest tightened. "I could help," he whispered. He returned to the basket, thinking hard. Then he remembered something, one of the routes the bandits used often ran along the old gorge path, which he had seen from above during his last flight. He launched into the air. He followed the ridge, scanned the shadows, and finally, far below, he saw torches flickering. For men. One small figure bound with rope. He didn't know how he knew what to do, but the basket answered. It swooped down, fast and silent. With a gust of wind, it scattered the torches. Startled, the men scrambled. The basket slammed into the ground beside the boy. Tunde leaped out, cut the ropes with a sharp stone, and pulled the child in. The basket rose just as one bandit threw a spear. It missed by inches. They flew back under the stars by morning. The lost boy was returned. The village was silent with aching. Tunde said nothing, just smiled, nodded, and vanished into the trees. Word spread like wildfire. A flying boy saved our son. He came from the sky. His basket sings like birds. Tunde began receiving small gifts from strangers: food, cloth, beads. People started looking to the skies, hoping for a glimpse. He tried to stay hidden, but every good deed revealed him a little more. One night, while resting in the sky above the hills, Tunde asked the basket, "Is this what I'm meant to be? A helper, a hero?" The basket shimmered. Help is pure, until pride poisons the cup. Tunde frowned. He didn't understand. Isn't it good to be known? No answer. The seed of ego days passed. He rescued a trader from a tree where leopards led. He helped a girl trapped in a river by throwing down vines. He dropped baskets of food to a village during a drought. Every time the crowd grew, cheers grew louder. Children called him Tunde, the sky boy. And slowly, something began to change in him. He began to fly, not just to help, but to be seen. He began to expect applause. He even flew in daylight once, dipping low above the fields, waving at workers below. The cheers filled him with fire. His chest swelled. He closed his eyes, basking in the sun and their praise. But that night, the basket did not rise. He stepped in. It didn't move. "What's wrong?" he asked. The wind whispered, "Your heart is heavier than before." Tunde felt a pang. "I only wanted to be loved." The basket stirred barely. Love must not be chased. It must be earned and released. He sat. In silence, the next night, he tried again. This time, the basket lifted, but slower. It groaned in the wind. It dipped and struggled. Tunde knew something was wrong, but instead of waiting, instead of listening, he pushed it. "Come on, higher." The basket jolted. The wind howled. Clouds gathered where there were none. And in the distance, lightning the coming storm, the basket shook. Tunde tried to steady it, but it no longer obeyed like before. The stars above blurred as wind tore through. The sky, rain slammed into his face. Thunder roared like drums of warning. And then a flash of light. The basket spun. Tunde cried out, I'm sorry. But it was too late. The basket flipped. Everything went white, and then silence. Tunde awoke to silence. Not the silence of sleep, nor the hush of early morning, but a silence so deep it hummed. He lay still, eyes closed, breath shallow, unsure if he had fallen or floated into death. Then came a scent, not smoke, not rain, but something strange. The smell of old books, warm soil, and something sweet like roasted plantains soaked in memory. Tunde opened his eyes. Above him stretched not sky, but a blanket of glowing vines. The trees overhead shimmered, their trunks etched with faces, their leaves whispering in languages too old to translate. The air itself felt thick, like syrup laced with stars. He sat up slowly. Where am I? The basket lay beside him, whole but still. It no longer shimmered. Its colors were faded, like a dream remembered too late in the day. He stood, wobbly. The ground beneath his feet pulsed gently, like a heartbeat in front of him. A path, twisting, narrow, made of stones that glowed faintly blue. Tunde had only one choice: to follow it. As he walked, the trees grew taller, their roots curling like sleeping snakes. Strange animals watched him: glowing-eyed deer, birds made of crystal, insects with wings like woven cloth. None moved to harm him, but none welcomed him either. He was not of this place. Time passed differently here. He couldn't tell if he had walked for minutes or moons. He didn't feel hunger or thirst, only the weight of regret. Pressing into his chest like a stone in water, the path led him to a large clearing. At its center stood a great tree, massive, ancient, and alive. In a way no tree had a right to be. Its bark shimmered like skin. Its roots shifted as though breathing. Its branches hung low, heavy with fruit, each one glowing faintly. Like captured memories, at the base of the tree sat a figure, cloaked in blue and gold. Face hidden by shadows, hands folded in silence. Tunde approached slowly. The figure did not move. "Hello?" he asked. No answer. "I think I'm lost." Still nothing. Tunde stepped closer. "I flew too high. I forgot why I flew in the first place." The figure finally stirred. A voice, neither male nor female, but echoing like many voices speaking as one. "You are not the first." "First what?" "To fall." Tunde swallowed hard. "Am I dead?" "Not yet. You are caught between skies." "What is this place?" The figure turned slightly, revealing a face carved of light and shadow. "This is the realm of lost dreams, where those who fly too far fall." Tunde stared at the tree. "What is this tree?" It bears the fruits of forgotten dreams. Each fruit holds a vision, a path that could have been or once was. And the basket, a test, a gift, a burden. The figure stood slowly. You were chosen, not for your strength, but your spirit. But spirit without humility is fire without a hearth. It burns. Tunde lowered his head. I wanted to help people, but I also wanted to be seen. Wanting to be seen is not evil, the figure said, gently. But forgetting why you began the journey, that is how even the brightest wings turn to ash. Tunde felt tears prick his eyes. Can I go back? The figure pointed to the tree. Choose a fruit. You must face the truth of who you are. Tunde reached up and touched a glowing orange fruit. It fell softly into his hand. The moment he touched it, light poured out. He saw himself as he had been, sitting on the hill, watching clouds. Dreaming, then he saw the faces of those he had helped. The boy he rescued, the villagers he fed. He saw their joy. But then, their disappointment as his ego grew. He saw himself waving from the sky, soaking in the cheers, forgetting their names. He saw the pride in his eyes. And finally, the fall, the flash of lightning, the silence, the fading glow of the basket. He dropped the fruit, breathless. I'm sorry. The figure nodded. And are you ready to remember who you were before the sky kissed your name? Yes. The figure reached behind the tree and pulled forth a new basket identical in shape, but not in glow. This is not the same basket. That one belonged to a dream. This one belongs to truth. Tunde stepped into it, heart steady. The basket rose slowly, not with power, but with permission. The trees waved gently. The clearing shimmered. The figure raised a hand. Do not forget, the sky is a teacher, the ground is a friend. Fly between them then. The light swirled, the realm faded, and Tunde rose. Tunde rose like dawn, slow at first, then steady. Then strong dot above him. The sky stretched wide and welcoming, as if it had missed him. Below, the clouds parted to reveal the land he had once known. The village of Abba Valley, nestled in the crook of rolling hills and ancient trees. But this flight was different. There was no cheering wind, no song of ego. The basket beneath him, reborn, quiet, moved with purpose, not pride. It was not dazzling. It was right. He looked down at his hands. They trembled, not from fear, but from something else. Humility. He was returning not as a boy who flew, but as one who had fallen and learned why. A changed home. When Tunde reached the village, he did not swoop down. He circled high above. Watching, things had changed. The people looked tired. The river had thinned. Crops looked weak. A strange tension hung in the air, like storm clouds that refused to rain. He landed quietly behind his mother's hut, near the hill where everything began. No one saw him at first. He approached his home, slowly, brushing leaves from his shoulders. His clothes were worn. His feet were bare. The basket remained hidden behind the tall grass. Inside the hut, his mother sat by the fire. She looked up, paused, and gasped. Tunde. He knelt beside her, tears forming. Mama, I'm home. She didn't ask questions. She pulled him close, arms trembling. The village, they thought you were gone. Some said you were taken by spirits. Some said you flew too close to the sun. Tunde nodded. Maybe all are true. That night, he did not fly. He sat with his mother. He helped her cook. He fetched water. He listened to the night sounds and let the wind speak for itself. But the next morning, whispers spread. Children said they saw a shadow land on the hill. Old men squinted at the sky. And by afternoon, the chief of the village sent for Tunde. The council's judgment, the council sat in a circle beneath the old tree. The chief, tall and stern, wore a robe of red feathers. The elders sat silently, their faces unreadable. Tunde stood before them, no basket, no magic. Just a boy, a little older, a little wiser. "You vanished," the chief said. "You soared above us, then fell. We heard rumors. Some say you played with the gods. Some say you brought the drought." Tunde lowered his gaze. "I flew too far." One of the elders, a woman with eyes like cracked stone, asked, "And now you return?" "Why? To serve," he replied. There was silence. "To serve how?" another elder asked. "By healing what I helped break." The chief stepped forward. "If you wish to serve, then serve. If you wish to fly, do so with purpose. No more tricks. No more showing off." Tunde nodded. "I understand." The chief raised a hand. "There is a mountain west of here. The rains that once fed our river come from there. But the path is broken. No one can climb it. The clouds are trapped if you still carry the sky's favor. Release them." Tunde blinked. "You want me to bring back the rain?" "No," the chief replied. "I want you to ask it to return." With humility. Flight of redemption, Tunde returned to the hill that night. The basket waited, not glowing, not singing, but solid. He stepped in, heart steady. "Let's go," he whispered. They rose. Higher, past the village, past the hills, into the west, where the clouds hung low like forgotten songs. The mountain was tall, taller than he remembered, jagged and cruel, its peak hidden by mist. But Tunde climbed the air with resolve. When he reached the summit, he stepped out onto a ledge. The wind roared. There, nestled in stone, the sky pool, a basin of still water that reflected not clouds, but memories. Tunde approached. "Great sky," he said aloud. "I have flown high. I have fallen low. I come not to take, but to return." He knelt. "This land thirsts. These people ache. Not for miracles, but for mercy." He took a bead from his wrist, one his mother had woven, and dropped it into the pool. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the water shimmered. A single drop rose into the air. Then another, and another. The clouds above stirred the wind, changed direction, and suddenly rain. The first drop it began with a soft patter, then a roar. Rain fell across the valley, gentle at first, then steady, soaking the earth, the trees, the roofs of homes. The outstretched hands of villagers, children, danced. Elders wept. Cattle lifted their heads in gratitude, and far above, on the mountain ledge, Tunde stood with arms wide. He did not fly that night. He simply watched the world become green again. The true return, when he returned to the village. No one clapped, no one cheered. Instead, they bowed, not in worship, but in respect. The chief approached. "You have done more than fly. You have landed." Tunde smiled. "And I will stay." Years passed. Tunde taught others what he learned. He became not just the boy who flew, but the man who listened. He no longer soared for fame. He soared when needed. He showed children how to weave baskets, not to fly, but to carry, to gather, to honor the craft. And on some nights, when the moon was kind and the stars whispered, he still rose. Not high, just enough to remember. And the basket never failed him again. Years passed, seasons came and went like travelers at dusk. The village of Abba Valley thrived again. The river flowed strong. The crops stood tall, and the people lived with a deeper reverence for the balance between earth and sky. And Tunde, he had grown no longer a boy, not just in age, but in spirit. He was now the keeper of stories, the teacher of flight, the guardian of humility. He no longer flew for attention. But every time he did rise, even briefly, children would pause. Their play, elders would smile, and even the birds would circle him as though remembering. The basket had aged too. Its colors were earthier now. Its shine was softer. But it had never failed him again. The sky calls again one night. During the harmattan, when the air was dry and the stars cut sharp through the dark, Tunde heard a whisper on the wind. It came not from the earth, nor the trees, nor even his own heart. It came from the sky. Tunde. He looked up, startled. The basket beside him pulsed. Once, softly, he stepped in without hesitation and rose. A familiar realm revisited the flight. Was different again. Not wild, not purposeful, but summoned. Clouds opened before him like old friends. The wind folded around him like a cloak. He rose past rainbows, past lightning, past thunder that spoke in riddles. And once more, he arrived at the realm of lost dreams. But this time, it was not unfamiliar. The vines welcomed him. The trees bowed. The animals did not hide, and under the tree of truths sat the same cloaked figure. They stood as he approached. No words were needed, but the figure spoke. You have returned, not because you are lost, but because others are. Tunde's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? The figure gestured. To the fruit-laden branches of the tree, each fruit pulsed with a different rhythm, some strong, some fading. Dreamers are flying again. Children like you once were. But the world has changed. Tunde knelt by the tree. They have forgotten. No, they were never told. The figure turned toward Tunde. You must share your tale, not just in story, but in spirit. The next generation flies faster than wind. They rise with fire, not feather. Tunde nodded slowly. And if they fall, they must know how to land. When Tunde returned home, he began a new tradition. Every full moon, the children gathered beneath the old baobab tree, and he told them of a boy who wove a basket from kindness, not pride, of flying not for fame, but for healing, of falling, not as failure, but as transformation, of meeting the sky and choosing to serve the ground. He called the tradition the Night of the Flying Basket. Children brought small baskets of their own, filled with seeds, hopes, letters, and laughter. They released them into the wind, not to fly, but to let go, to trust, to remember. The final flight one day, when Tunde was very old, and his hair had turned the color of clouds before rain. He stood once more on the hill. He smiled. The basket was there. He stepped in gently, and this time, the basket rose one final time, not toward the sun, not toward glory, but toward the place where dreams rest and rise again. He looked down, whispered a prayer, and vanished into the sky like a star finally returning home. Legacy lives on, and from that day on, when wind rustled the trees at night, when children felt a breeze just before sleep, when a basket rocked quietly on a porch, the people would say, Tunde is watching. The boy who learned to fly, but more importantly, the boy who learned to land. And so the tale was passed down not as myth, but as memory, because the sky remembers. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment "end" so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know where are you watching from. Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, stay happy. Goodbye.